Hey, welcome back to Worship Leader Wednesday, a series by Worship Tutorials where Fuller and I help you become a better worship leader with practical advice that you can put into practice right now. Today we're talking about rehearsals. Before we get started though, we want to ask you, do you have rehearsals at your church? Let us know in the comments.
To rehearse or not to rehearse? That is the question. So, hey, the first reason, and again, I believe what we do is less about music than it is about people.
Yeah.
And so the first reason I love having rehearsals is because it gives you a chance to build community outside of Sunday.
So it has nothing to do with music preparation?
Nothing to do with it.
It's just spending time with people.
Spending time with people.
That's a good point.
You know, because otherwise you're just constantly using people for what you can get out of them.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to get together and get to know each other, talk about life, learn new things, and have fun.
Yeah, so our first point was about building relationship. Second point is really the nuts and bolts of why you do a rehearsal is to raise the level of excellence in the music for the music that you do. So we're talking about like vocalists being tighter as far as harmonies, what they're singing, the band obviously performing the songs, getting them under their feet, really working on them. I think the most important thing that you can do at a rehearsal is practice transitions.
That's great, yeah.
Because if you don't know how you're going from part A in a service to part B, it could be a train wreck. You don't
Music
want that.
is a motor skill.
Yeah.
And our biology, our psychology, our physiology, all of that shows us over history and over time that the more you do something, the better it will be. Yeah. And rehearsal is a chance. It doesn't matter how great everyone is. How is it when everyone comes together?
Yeah.
And if you never practice that, then you're always just gonna have. You're always the sum of your parts, right? Like not necessarily in music because you might have 8 great musicians that haven't played together.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a little chemistry, right?
Yeah. Well, we put that into practice in our. That comes to light when we do stuff as a church, because like you're gonna do the song "How Great Is Our God" or "Reckless Love" or pick a song that you've done a million times.
You can do it without even thinking about it.
Like maybe everyone in the band knows how to play that song forwards and backwards.
Yep.
But when you put them all together,
doesn't sound right.
It's like,
wait, what's going on?
Yeah. Just because everyone knows how to play a song doesn't mean that it's gonna all be great when it comes together. You gotta spend time as a band. It's
basic math. If you only rehearse on Sunday morning and then you do Sunday service, let's say you do a song 3 times.
Yeah.
Well, if you had a rehearsal, you're going to do it probably twice at rehearsal, so now you've done it 5. What's going to be better? A song you've done 3 times or a song you've done 5 times? So if your problem is excellence, my drummer's not tight, or my guitar is not playing the right chords, or all of the millions of comments, literally probably millions by now, comments that we see about things not going right, 9 times out of 10, they're musical issues that can be fixed just by repetition. Yeah. If your amazing band always plays together and every time you get together and play music it sounds like the album, then okay, maybe you don't need this part of why you do a rehearsal. So another great reason to use a rehearsal is to experiment creatively. Yeah. Like, oh, hey, I got this really cool idea of great things, right? Check this out. Great things, but with a salsa groove. You know? Sounds cool here, but I don't want to find out if that works on Sunday morning.
Yes.
So it might be a chance to get together with the band and, hey, I got an idea. Let them be creative. You know, here's how we normally do the song, but this is what I want to try. Of course, communicating in advance, but it'll give you a chance without the pressure of it not going well to see if it works. Yeah. And you might stumble across something that really works well. Yeah. You know, or a transition. Maybe you need to practice how we're going to get from this song to this song. I know how we're going to do it, but what's it actually going to feel like? And rehearsal gives you that opportunity to...
Yeah, often what you can think of in your mind as far as a way to get from one thing to the next, or even like if you're going to open an upbeat song but like way more mellow and then ramp into it, which we've done.
Sounds simple.
We do that with Grateful a lot. Of course, Elevation did that with Grateful too and showed us how to do it. But you know,
they were like our rehearsal for us.
Yeah, but if you have that idea, it might be awesome in your mind, but you do it at rehearsal and it's like,
that's not right.
It feels really weird. Yeah. Or maybe you make an adjustment and it feels great.
But you have the time now to do it.
Right.
Without the pressure, oh no, we got to start in 30 minutes.
But like you said, you never ever want to do anything for the first time during a worship service.
Yeah.
Right?
Rule number 1 in life. That should be like the #1 rule of any worship leader.
That's like that, and then don't just open invitation for people to come up and share.
Oh yeah,
like
that's another
on stage.
That's another bad.
That's another train wreck waiting to happen. Another thing you can do with rehearsals is if you have people that you're recruiting, and hopefully you're actively recruiting all the time, new musicians to come onto your team. It really gives you a vehicle to like onboard people to come to your team. So what we do is like we'll have potential team members come observe rehearsals. And then they can be involved in rehearsals, and then it's like at the point where we feel like they're ready to jump in. Actually, a lot of times what we'll do is have new volunteers, especially if they're newer at their instrument, right? If they're kind of maybe a beginner to intermediate level musician, is we'll have them play during rehearsal, but not on Sunday. Yeah. Really, so it just gives them like they'll play acoustic guitar or sing or something like that. Really gives them an opportunity to understand like all of the technical equipment things that we do that might be different for them. Yeah. And just really brush up on their chops too if they're if it's somebody who's really wants to serve but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. The other thing too is just easier to invite people. Say you're at Guitar Center and you're talking to this musician and they seem kind of interested in maybe what you have to say, and instead of being like, hey, come play with me at my church on Sunday, that's very intimidating. Hey, me and my friends get together on Wednesday nights and we practice music. If you want to come hang out with us, bunch of musicians, way less threatening. It gives you an opportunity of outreach. Anytime I meet anyone in our community who's a musician, I invite them to our rehearsal. Yeah. Because there's no stress, no pressure. It's just they're coming, they're hanging out. They can get involved if they want, or they can just observe. 9 times out of 10, they're like, "This is really cool. Like, I'm gonna come back on Sunday."
And if you're doing like community team group time, people like they can see that like this is a group of people who actually likes each other.
Exactly.
This is something I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Like this is a community of people gathered together for one purpose. Yeah. And like people want to be a part of that.
Yeah, they do.
So hopefully your rehearsals aren't super dysfunctional. Then maybe fix that before you invite people.
We'll talk about that in the next video.
So Fuller and I realized that there are lots of things that come up that make rehearsals difficult. And there's a lot of reasons, excuses that you could make, use that word on purpose, for not having a rehearsal. Okay? And those could be like your church meets in a school.
Yeah,
and you don't have access to the school. Or whatever, your building, you only have access to your building on Sundays. And so there's no way to do a rehearsal in your space, right? You might have, nobody can get on the same schedule. Yeah. Like there's no day that works for everybody. There's a lot of reasons why you don't do a rehearsal. You might just have all your people just don't want to spend the time. Yeah. But we would really encourage you to start to look at those as excuses rather than reasons, and start to think about how can we overcome them. I used to be a part of a church that met in like a rec center, and we didn't have access to it. And so we asked some churches in the surrounding area if they had spaces we could use. And lo and behold, they did. So we met in like some church basement and rehearsed. That's right? Awesome. We didn't have access to all of our equipment and stuff, but we could get together and play the songs.
Work on the music,
Right? And so
build community.
Yeah, that was it. What about if what would you say to somebody who says none of our volunteers can have the same night open?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to understand, if you don't have a rehearsal now and you're trying to transition into having a rehearsal, you are getting ready to change culture. Okay? And anytime you change culture, it's a huge undertaking. Yeah. And that's okay. Right. Changing culture takes time, it takes energy, it takes sacrifice, it takes all these things. So the first thing to do is value the fact that it's important and cast vision for the fact that we need to start doing this. Yeah. And then slowly take your time, talk to as many people as you can. I mean, if you have 7 people on your team, it's really difficult to believe that there's not one time that I mean, unless they're all doctors and scientists, that are working 90-hour weeks or whatever. I think, and here's what I know. We have a team of 120 volunteers. Yeah. Every single one of them is available on Wednesday night. Just the worship team at our church. Every single one of them is mostly available on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, well.
Okay? Now, the reason they're available
is
because we've had a structure of having rehearsals on Wednesday nights for 9 years. Yeah. And so anyone who's been onboarded within the last 9 years comes onto the team knowing that, hey, if you want to serve on this team, you have to be able to rehearse on Wednesdays. Okay? And so I know what a lot of people think, well, then I won't have anybody to choose from. These are the same people that are saying, I don't have any way to get more musicians. See, they're all excuses because eventually you will start finding people that can fit into the system. But you have to have a system first. And so you have to, what I do, because we almost changed our rehearsals one time to a different day, but I did survey the team. And based on the survey results, I felt like that it would do more harm than good to move the day. So we kept it on Wednesdays. It's been on Wednesdays ever since. Most churches have either a Wednesday or a Thursday rehearsal. Some do Friday. Some do Saturday. I discourage doing it on the weekends because for a lot of people that's their family day. Most adults who are committed to your ministry should be able to give you one night. Now, here's the caveat. If you're using the same musicians every weekend, all this is very holistic. It's all connected. If you're using the same 5 musicians every week and then you add a rehearsal, like you're doubling, they will all be gone in a year. Like it's just not right and it's not fair.
And this is not speculation, this is experience.
I've seen it a bunch of times.
Right.
And I promise you, or at the very minimal, best case scenario, you'll have a very unhealthy team. Best case scenario, you'll have a very unhealthy team. In order to do this, you have to be willing to make some sacrifices, knowing that, hey, you know what? A few people might not be able to do this. But like I said, in all my years of ministry, I don't think I've ever run into a person that simply absolutely could not make that happen. You know, but if they're passionate and they want to be involved, they'll figure out a way to make it happen.
People will rearrange their schedules for
what
is important.
They will. Even people with jobs. Now I will say this too. We do have some people even people with actual jobs. Even if they have a job. We do have some people on our team that work in the medical industry. And every 3 weeks they're on call. So we do have some people who, hey, I'm on call. So it could happen that Wednesday night rolls around and they can't make it. Guess what? We totally are prepared for that. And that's totally fine.
You have to operate with grace.
Right? we give them grace. Now here's the deal. I ain't scheduling a drummer that's on call. Because I can't not have my drummer show up. So we work around that. But overall, most people can make it. And I can tell you, if you start shifting the culture to having a rehearsal, your entire ministry will change. All sorts of fantastic ways.
If you don't have one already,
If you don't have one now, you're going to just see all sorts of great things happen. The idea that none of our people can rehearse,
it's not true.
Can debunk that.
It's not true.
That is just absolutely not true.
What you're saying is it's not important enough for them to make it a priority.
Or it's not important enough to you to figure out a way to make it work.
Or to communicate to them how important it is.
Yeah.
So if you don't have rehearsals at your church, we hope that this has encouraged you to think about how important it is to put it into practice. In our next video, we're going to talk about how to actually run a rehearsal.
Good stuff.
And how to do it well. Some best practices for rehearsals. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.